Hello everybody and a warm welcome back to Formula Fun Sim Racing. My name is Abe and I'll be on the commentary mic to take you all through for this round 4 here at the Bahrain Grand Prix as we get into qualifying as it is. As always, it's going to be short qualifying and then 14 laps of racing here around the Bahrain Grand Prix racing, as we've had a couple of nice races the first 3 rounds and now we're on to it, and we should be getting on a great one here in Bahrain as well. So just before we get started, let's have a look at the championship standings as we are right here now. And all right, sorry, apologies about it. That wasn't to be. I think where do we? All right, there it is. Is that a couple of tabs in. Now, so look at this. It is Zenzoku who leads ahead of Scrubbins in P2. Zeno has got 68 points ahead of Scrubbins, who's on 61. 3 podiums each with pole positions. 2 poles to Scrubbins and 1 to Zen. Is Zen going to be able to equal the pole record of Scrubbins this week? Or Scrubbins is going to even extend his pole positions to make it 3? Well, it's an AI in 3rd place with 34 points. Then it is High B with 28 points to his name, followed by Spliff with 23 points, who got his first podium since last season, this time around in one of the 3 races. Then it's that racer with 21 points has got a podium as well, while Fly Scott in second last position has just scored 19 points this season so far. While Footy has kind of been on the back foot, scoring just about 8 points this season. Let's move over and not waste any time. I hope that game audio hopefully now it should be all good as we're now at it and ready to go racing. As let me slightly just fix that as I want to just move this to. Okay, let's just open these things to set up all of this. But obviously doing all of that, usually we do recordings for these kind of races, but then having the on a stream, I have to do a bit of settings, but it should be fine. Should be all good and no problems at all. As we're now just moving over. Slightly need to adjust this. This done, and then this needs to be probably around here. Right then. Okay, maybe not. Just as we're underway, we'll get an idea of basically what we want. Alright, I mean, we'll just leave it here and focus on this qualifying session right now. There is Fly Scott already, the man looking to score more points this season, has only scored 19 so far. Won in 2024 when we were last here. He won here in Bahrain. It was Zen who won in 25, but it was Fly Scott who won in 24. Is that racer at the moment showing up P4? Zen currently on an outlap so far. So everybody now at it and on their race at the moment as it stands. Well, Spliff at the moment at the top. And who's a driver that's going to be closer to that finish line? What about Footy? He's just starting his flying lap at the moment, as well as he runs wide, slightly up into turn 1 and runs quite a bit wide. And that's not going to be the one thing you would have wished to do. But what about Fly Scott? He pretty much is the driver who's closest to that finish line at the end of it, before the end of his lap. Currently just going to the end of his middle sector, 109.527. Is that really going to be fast, or will that not be fast enough? We're about to find out while there's Nosy in that AI car, goes up top and ahead of everybody. But it's going to be Fly Scott, the man who we're going to watch out from our drivers to go over the line and set up a time on the board. How fast is that going to be? 131.993. Is that going to be fast enough? We're about to find out. Let's go over to High B, who along with that racer, that logged up there, and that's going to be quite a bit of a time loss for him. But even with that time loss, how fast is he going to be? 32.2, so not fast enough. What about High B? High B comes into the pits quite about lost his lap, I think, there. What about Spliff then over the line? He might go fastest. No, he will not. 32.3. So at the moment as it stands, might be fastest. What about Scrubbins, the man? And he goes up top. Pole position so far, 130.889. The man has scored 2 poles this season so far with 1 victory to his name. Can he replicate his form? Can he continue to keep up and move away in terms of pole positions from Zen out there? Well, Zen currently on an out lap. What about Footy? Is not on a competitive time just yet, but we should be having Zen now on a lap, and we do have Zen on this lap right here. 108 at the end of that middle sector. How quick will this one be? Anywhere closer, Scrubbins, or far away from him? Yes, away from him and faster. That is 130.8.6. There it is, and that is sharp 130.600. So that is an absolute brilliant lap from Zen at the moment. About 2.9 tenths quicker than Scrubbins there. And he's certainly doing a really good job so far. But how good of a lap that lap will be. I think we might have slightly more game audio than we want. So I'll just adjust that at the moment. Hopefully all is good. But just so we get an idea and how everything will be. While we're at it, this one, it is indeed now qualifying still happening and quite fast from all of these drivers. Who do we have next over the line? Footy at the moment is invalidated his lap, so that is not going to be a lap to look at. What about Spliff, who's currently in P5 at the moment, 132.321, so staying out on track, not pitting anybody at the moment apart from the 3 AI drivers who are in the pits just right now, while Scrubbins currently in P2 will be starting his lap once again. Another chance, another try to try and go faster, try and get better than his previous lap time. Can he do that though? Because he knows the challenge of Zen is quite strong. Could he cap up at him? His battery's already about 50% down, so that's going to be quite an effect in my opinion. He maybe not charged as much as he would have liked, or either used too much of it on that first straight, and he's improving by a 4.5 tenths, 28.7. Should be purple in that first sector, but how good of a lap is that going to be? High B at the moment in that green car, just starting their lap along with Fly Scott, who is going to be over the line. I think, yep, he's going to be pretty much starting his lap just right now. Zen at the moment on a lap as well. Does he improve on his previous time? Yes, he does. Around 5 tenths on that first sector, but that's slower than Scrubbins there, though. Scrubbins 4.5 tenths, but I think he was 28.7, while Zen is 28.8, so maybe Scrubbins is going to come back, but it all depends on this middle sector, so 1.1 seconds. That is really fast, and that surely is quite fast as compared to Zen's time, but it's going to be all time closers while Racer has retired. I wonder if he's put the car in the wall or something has happened for him to retire out on the track. But Scrubbins now coming over the line. How fast does he go? Fast enough for him to be 129.847, and straight away after the lap he has retired because he might just think right now that he is done, and Zen here is going to need Footy to get out of his way, and that might have just about compromised for Zen, our defending champion and our driver from the 2025 Bahrain Grand Prix winner 30.260. So just improves his time, better than his previous one, but not good enough. Not enough for him to be the fastest driver of the session. I think now about 9.5 minutes. We're already in this now. Fly Scott currently in P4, will be going over the line, but before him will be High B, but High B was not fast enough. Well, Fly Scott 31.512 should pretty much be qualifying over, as they've got no fuel as well, so should be coming up to the end of this, should be coming up into the pits, or maybe retiring to pretty much get an end to their qualifying session, while Zen currently in P2, Scrubbins on pole with Fly Scott in P3. Followed by Dad Racer in P4, Spliff in P5 as it stands, followed by High B in P9. Comes about P10 Footy, so High B just a bit quicker than Footy, but obviously Still not enough. What about Spliff? He's going to be the next car over the line. Does he go over the line or into the pits? He does go over the line and would be looking to improve and does find about almost 6.9 tenths, but not enough for him to go into P4 or ahead of Fly Scott or Dad Racer. But that's pretty much qualifying over, ladies and gentlemen. We should be going over to the end of this session within a couple of minutes now before the start of 14 laps of racing, while High Bay is improving. Footy comes over the line, still P10, so hasn't quite at the start of the season. Sure, Footy even last year was making a couple of mistakes, but still was doing laps just enough to see him in somewhere in the mix between the drivers, where IB now finds a second, but that's still that second is not good enough for him to really be, faster or anywhere near or close in the mix of drivers right there. So not now much remains before the end of this qualifying session. Almost everybody has retired. I think as soon as everybody retires, we should be moving over to the race. And look at that already, with High B retiring, everything disappears on our screen. And that pretty much means only one thing, and that is qualifying over. Then here is your qualifying results, ladies and gentlemen. Scrubbins on pole ahead of Zen in P2. Scrubbins grabs his third pole of the season out of the 4 pole qualifying sessions. Can he convert that into victory? We will find out. With Fly Scott in P3, Zen in P2, then Dead Racer in P4. Followed by Spliff with a decent qualifying session in P5. Then it is 3 AIs in between with High B and Footy at the bottom in P9 and 10. So there shouldn't be too long before we go racing here at Bahrain. As racing should begin, it'll be 14 laps of racing, so a proper one-stop strategy should be the case here, unless somebody has a couple of incidents or a safety car or something like that is the case to be. And look at that then, we are right here in the pit lane screen where we should see drivers setting up their strategies, choosing the correct tyres and correct fuel, all they need. Just get ready before the race starts, and we're also about to find out on the test of whether do we have a formation lap or we don't. We're going to find out just right now, because it's been a while since we last did live here, and we might do here. Yes, we do.
Here we go then. The formation lap is underway, and the track temperature looks warm. That may or may not play into some of the team's hands for today's race.
Interestingly, it's a broadcast formation lap, so it should end as fast as it pretty much starts, I'd say, probably. But then obviously 3 tires. But then C3, the soft tire, C2, the medium, and C1, the hard compound tire. So as far as strategies are concerned, I could only see top 2 drivers using the different tire from others around the grid. And it's all going to be about who gets the better start, who gets better off the line. And we've seen Scrubbins make quite a bit of mistakes in those race starts and in the races that has compromised his championship overall. So for the 14 laps, every single driver starts on the soft compound tire, apart from the top 2, the front row of Zen and Scrubbins right there. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 red lights here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. We go racing in Bahrain. That's a decent start for Scrubbins, and Zen's going to head towards the wall. Straight away, Zen has in the wall, and he's down into P9, just ahead of High B. Scrubbins leads us away with Racer in P2, followed by Fly Scott in P3, and Spliff's got a jump on Zen as well. Spliff in P4 there. That is an absolutely chaotic start here at Bahrain. We were thinking about the mistakes from Scrubbins, but rather it was Zen who lost it at the start as he sends it on the inside line of Dance there. And that's going to be a move for Zen Zoku, as he's going to get up to P7 once more. And now he's going to be trying to make moves once again. Could he quite do it though? Because that's going to be quite a bit of it, as he's now got Spliff ahead of him. And then a couple of cars as Spliff narrowly just loses the car on the exit and almost gets out of the way, while Zen just about for a moment thought he's going to be past Spliff, but Spliff then comes back around the outside. That was quite a super move as Zen has lost out 5 positions at the start. The race has gained 2, Flyscott says 3, and then Spliff has lost 1 as well. Spliff got to P4, then he probably lost it after he made a mistake, so that's quite a bit of it. And definitely, despite being on the medium tire, it wasn't the hard tire though. Sure, medium tire obviously not as good as the hard tire, or as good as the soft tire, but still, let's say Scrubbins at the same tire as well, so definitely Zen would have... I mean, nobody expected as the Scrubbin slightly on the exit goes onto the grass, and that could be a problem with Racer right behind on that soft compound tire. But considering how good of a time that's going to be, or well, meanwhile Spliff is getting closer to the car, one of the cars in front, and he'll get past one of the cars in front. Spliff sends it on the inside line. Oh no, in fact that was High B actually at the back sending moves as well in their green car as once again, I think the audio slightly more. It's basically, yeah, basically other ones same, but on board one slightly. It's more in terms of how, you know, let's say my own audio, and obviously it's a one-stop strategy whether you start on the softs or you start on the medium compound tire. It's just the depending on tire advantage that you take. So Zen still in P7. Well, Spliff in P6. These guys could be having a nice little fight very soon. Are we about to get a fight though right here? Zen currently in with over 70% battery, similar for Spliff as well. Well, Spliff's got the opportunity to go around the outside, and he does go around the outside, but he'll run absolutely wide. That might allow Zen, but Zen's nowhere closer actually. I would have rather thought he's going to follow him past, but it wasn't the case, and it wasn't to be, at least not this time, for him to get past, or for him to be making a move just right there. As we're only 2 laps in now, onto lap 3 we'll go. Meanwhile, Zen still staying behind one of these AI cars, probably not able to get past, or simply just taking it nice and easy and just relaxing quite a bit. Meanwhile, an AI will get past Spliff right there, and Spliff's going to lose that position while Footy is down in P9, 15 seconds down of the next car in P9, so that is quite a bit of a progress for him to be made. Well, Spliff in P6, 2/10 to the car in front, and that's going to Spliff. He's going to send it, but once again, he's going to run absolutely wide, and that's going to allow Lucas to come back. Meanwhile, at the front, there is Racer, who's lost the car, and that has allowed Flyscott to move over to P2. Meanwhile, Racer was nowhere. Those guys were not really anywhere closer to be fighting each other at all. While we go up to the top, it's going to be Flyscott and Spliff. Spliff and Zen there. Then High B arrives right there as well. It's all happening between these drivers. Zen has gone past Spliff and High B right now. Possible fighting against the car Hodget in front of them there, but unless and until if High B doesn't come back at him, because High B is ever closer to Zen there, and so is Spliff. Spliff just going a little too deep, and that just allows others to get past, and High B, who is nowhere closer, these guys a couple of laps ago, comes in here, and that is all about who gets it on track, who keeps it clean on track. Well, Zen just trying to make a recovery smooth, and there we go, Zen Zoku into the pits early. And I'd assume a hard tire here, and maybe an alternative strategy, you'd say, because considering they maybe would have thought that, yep, front wing damage to them, and I'd say a possible hard tire, and indeed it's a hard tire, and they should now go to the end. Possible front wing damage, and then would have thought, anyways, I'm far down the grid, so might as well have a go and try and make a move, or, try and simply do an alternative strategy. Possibly, I'd say they might have given up on the win here, unless it's a safety car, or, let's say, a couple of mistakes from Scrubbins there. Flyscott won in 2024. Currently running in P2 so far. Hasn't got a, I think, yeah, in fact has got a podium this season. I believe it was race 1. got that podium on, if I'm not mistaken. And then ever since, he did not have a good couple of races. While we're going to see Spliff currently in P6 for 8 tenths down on High B. Well, High B is now going to be 3 tenths to the car in front. While Racer is fighting these guys. Racer makes slightly bit of a mistake. Right, Racer hasn't pitted, and he was at the top in the podium positions, just lost the car. And then it was quite difficult for him to catch up back again. Meanwhile, we're going to watch IB as he's going to go absolutely into the back of the AI car in front. And he just braked a little bit too late. And I'm quite surprised it doesn't have no damage. Unless there is no physical damage to his front wing. That was quite a bump to the car in front. And still no damage. That has to be an interesting feat to see. Meanwhile, now Spliff still behind High B though. So Spliff maybe still being a little bit patient. While Fly Scott, has he lost the car? He might have there. And yes, he might have. We're gonna have to find out. Considering if he's got any front wing damage or not here. But that could be a problem while High B once again closer to the car in front. Meanwhile, Spliff is losing out a little bit. And we're going to go back to Fly Scott. If we could get the TV camera back again. Okay, he's got no damage because he was pretty much running on his own, but there was a yellow flag in that area, so I'd assume that he's got a car. He's lost the car on his own, maybe. Meanwhile, High B, 2 tenths to the car in front. Zen's going to be making a move as well, and so is High B. But High B now, is he going to run a little bit deep? Yes, he will. And the same AI driver, that's going to allow Spliff to get past, and Spliff now around the outside will get a move done. Spliff's got no battery at all, so that could be a difficult situation for him trying to defend. But that is a nice little move that has been made by Spliff as well. Just followed High B there as Spliff's going to go for it on the inside line. Spliff's going to have to make defensive moves, and that's going to be quite a bit of a problem. Well, Zen's going to have to defend and make those moves as well, as we are now seeing them currently in P10. They've got Footy in front of them, so it is Footy and Zen fighting each other. While there should be time for the soft air runners to now come into the pits at least at the end of this lap, or at least at the end of next lap. As Zen just about trying to avoid problems, and Contact there locks up into the final corner and is still going to be staying behind Footy there. And there's going to be Zen. He's going to switch to the side of him there with the DRS wide open. No use of ERS there, but he doesn't need to, and that's going to be a nice little move from Zen as he gets past Footy. Finally an overtake for Zen, and some cheering after a mistake earlier on the start of the race, and then once again having to pit for the for that front wing, and really early in that race right there. Well, we have Racer at the moment right behind Spliff. The DRS not open on none of the cars, or in fact it is open on Racer's car, and I think he opened it quite late, let's just say, as for a moment I thought he's going to be quite early on that, but he's quite late, I think so. But while we're now 7 laps in, Spliff once again within a second of the car in front, so a move could be coming up is his way as soon, but it all depends whether he's going to continue or going to come into the pits for a pit stop, as Spliff's going to lose that car, and that's going to allow Racer to get past him, and Racer is going to now come into the pits right now, right there. But I think same would have been the case for Spliff, who possibly would have had no grip on those tyres and has just lost the car on the exit of the final corner, and in fact he still continues straight up, and that has now allowed Zen to get closer there. Zen's should be jumping up and ahead of Racer here. Even if he does not, he's going to be quite closer, and he does indeed do that. And that is a nice one there. Meanwhile, Footy is now going to be just about side by side. They nearly make contact. Do Footy and Racer there, and that was quite a bit close between the two drivers. But well done to Racer there to get past. we're halfway distance into this race now. Lap 7 out of 14, and interestingly, Scrubbins into the pits as well. I would have thought maybe on the medium tire he's going to stay out a little bit longer than the soft tire runners, but maybe, just maybe, seeing Zen is on that hard tire attacking from behind. He doesn't want to lose much time, and probably just needs to get the pit stop done as early as possible to probably run away on that soft tire, which would be quite a difficult thing to get on. So I think it's now time whether he can get it on. You know, even on the previous season, it was the mistakes that kept coming up. You know, Flyscott now exiting the pit lane on those sort of medium compound tires. It's about whether Zen will be able to get past. No, he will not be. He's going to gain a couple of places, but Flyscott has lost out to the car in front of Dance, but I think he hasn't left out. That's because they have not pitted just yet in this race, so that is about them having to get things on. Meanwhile, drivers at the back are going to be fighting each other maybe, and that is High B and Dad Racer there on board with High B right now. DRS open on their car. It's about can they get it done or can they not. Meanwhile, there's a yellow flag in front. Not sure what has happened, but we're going to just watch these guys have a little battle there of their own, and that battle nearly turns quite worst for High B. Is currently down in P8 still, but nearly lost the car. Meanwhile, Zen now on that hard compound tire, and just not sure why Spliff did not pit, trying to stay out longer. Meanwhile, it's going to be Flyscott. He's going to go for on the inside line. Seeing the move, and he gets it done there. And that move is on. Meanwhile, Zenzoku is going to be ever closer to Spliff. And Spliff maybe has lost the car there. And as it looks like he might have lost the car. And yes, he has there. And that allowed Zen to probably get past him as quick as possible. And probably without any worry and problem. And that thing would have been biggest of reasons. Zen was not stopped. And Zen now, obviously to the leader, there is a lot of a gap. Over 24 seconds. So still a free pit stop. But a possible P3 should be on the way without a problem, or even a P2 if he's able to get closer to Flyscott and get himself a position, depending if they can get the position or not. But it's about nice and time for them to get at the moment, though, because I think they've done a decent job considering that race start. That was not a good one for them, which they possibly would have had to, you know, forget about. But then trying to recover despite that start, to, you know, which didn't really go their way. And then having to pit as well, pit early because of that front wing. But I'm not sure whether that front wing damage came for Zen later in the race or that came like on that start, because I'm sure he hit that wall on that race start. So I'd assume that would have came on that race start, and they probably would have, you know, just decided not to pit early, but then obviously they did early, but then not right after the race start, and maybe would have thought, okay, we're gonna slightly go a little bit later than that. And now watching out our race leader, Scrubbins, ahead of everybody over 22 seconds, and this is an absolute dominant performance up until this moment, and definitely that is Zen-like performance last season. And as I said, Scrubbins was doing an exceptional job last year as well. In qualifying, his pace was pretty much there every other week, or even almost every week. He was at least closer to Zen and in that second place, but it just wasn't fast enough. It was just not good enough for him to really, you know, get on basically what he would have liked in terms of speed or performance or, you know, management. But now it's all going to be right here, and one thing that's going to be right here is going to be the fight between the racer and the car in front there. That is Nosy Skater in P4 on the medium tires, and same goes for Racer as well. Only one lap separating the two drivers, so that is not much of a difference right here, and the DRS will be open for Racer right there. And even before that DRS gets enabled, Racer's ever closer to the car in front. But is he actually going to be able to get past? And he should be able to get past and slightly make contact. A little tap from the car behind. But Racer gets past Nosy there around the outside. Possibly just being a little bit careful. But gets the move done into P4. Maybe a podium out of sight. A P4 is going to do them a job. As far as things are concerned so far. Also between FlyScott and Zen there, only 2.5 seconds now separated between the two drivers, and maybe, just maybe, even though Zen has done over 7 laps on those hard tires, and he's going to have to do about 10, I'd say so, or maybe even more, but that's going to be quite difficult to see maybe them getting closer. But I think that's going to be a nice thing to see. In 1.8 seconds already, Zen is gaining on FlyScott. So maybe those tires don't even matter much as far as speed is concerned. Because FlyScott, I believe, made a couple of mistakes as well. So definitely that would have at least allowed Zen to get closer, even if he's able to get past or not. You know, one way or the other would have been a nice little fake. Meanwhile, Nosy now gets past Racer once again. Racer loses the position to Nosy there. Well, we were concerned on Zen, and oh, that's going to be Racer into the backup car in front. And we've seen a couple of those incidents then. For between, earlier between, it was High P, I believe, or Spliff it was, I think, going in one of the cars. And now for Racer to go into the back of the car in front, that is quite a bit. These guys might need to forget, as Racer once again right behind the car, as that's going to be Racer as he sends it on the inside line, but he gets a penalty while trying to get past. 3 seconds added to his race time, and he might have gone all 4 wheels off the track, and that's going to be 3 seconds added to his race time at the end of this race. So maybe that move rather turned against him than for him right there. Meanwhile, Zen now has gotten closer and closer to FlyScott there. 1.3 seconds between the two drivers, while Scrubbins is chilling up top with the fastest lap to his name as well. 131.640. 32.889 from Zen, despite being on the hard tire, but obviously that's not enough to get on. Meanwhile, 2:10s between Nosy and Racer ahead. Nosy might try and get past once again, but these guys are ever closer, and you do not want to miss a move to see whether FlyScott will be able to get that P2, or is it going to be Zen who jumps up and gets closer to FlyScott, and he's going to be getting ever closer even this time, as the DRS is now going to be open despite 4 lap tire deficit, and FlyScott being on that on that medium tire still. Hard tires on that Zen's car seem to be working quite nicely, and Zen is driving nicely fast as now 7/10 separate these guys. DRS will be available to Zen at the next overtaking opportunity at the Monaries around the main straight, as our leader is now into lap 13 out of 14. No, in fact, they are not, so that means... No, in fact, they are, yep. So that is not many laps now remaining before the end of this Grand Prix here around Bahrain. Again, the gap has went over 1 second. Zen does have DRS, but that is not going to be enough for him to get past. Does he get DRS this time, though? Because the gap's still about staying over a second. Was that enough for FlyScott to pull away from that DRS? Yes, it was. And he might just be able to keep him behind, though, because this is about management of battery now. Both the drivers do not have similar... in fact, they do have similar batteries, do Zen and FlyScott. They're 22 versus 27%. Obviously, few percentages obviously moves around. Could be more or less, but it's on the lower side for both the drivers right there. But I think bad for FlyScott would be that this is not the final lap. Had this been the final lap, he would have been a little bit more relaxed, knowing that he's only got a couple of corners. But this time around, he's got a whole lap that he is going to have to do. That DRS for Zen is enabled, and Zen has just managed to get that DRS on his car. And... maybe just like the previous lap, FlyScott gains around this time. Maybe Zen is slowing down, but I don't think he's going to be slowing down, especially at this part of the race, especially in this time of the race. We're on the second last lap, about to head into the final lap of this Grand Prix, and Zen, I think now, is going to be ever closer. Meanwhile, our race leader is on to the final lap of this race, lap 14 out of 14. Is all good for Scrubbins to continue his lead by over 30 seconds. Zen is ever closer to Fly Scott. Is Zen going to go for it on the inside line? No, rather he will not. Final lap. He'll get another opportunity. He's got two DRS zones before the end of this race, and for him to make a move up into second place there, he's made a mistake at the race start, pitted really early in the race, has done over 10 laps and nearly loses it. He nearly slightly makes a mistake, and that's gonna be a good news for Fly Scott there, and there might be a couple of smiles under that helmet from Fly Scott, because then just on the exit slightly lost it, had a little bit of a moment, and exactly as I said, he's having done 10 laps on that tyre, and Fly Scott now has had a slide as well, and that could easily allow Zen to get past, and this is quite crazy right here, as Scrubbins is now going to be coming around the final corner, and after a dominant qualifying, it's going to be a dominant race, as Scrubbins wins the Bahrain Grand Prix, and takes victory by over 31 seconds, and this is going to be all happening right here. Does Zen go for it on the inside? Yes, he does. They're going to make contact, and Zen spun round, and Fly Scott, refusing to give up, has made contact, and Zen is spun round and gonna lose that second place right there. Not sure how the stewards are going to think about that, but Fly Scott absolutely sent it around the outside, and Fly Scott is going to come over the line and finish second and gets another podium in addition to his points in the championship, while Zen finishes third. Racer's going to be coming over the line, 3.3 seconds to the next car, so he should be good in terms of that penalty. Comes up in P4, then it's the AI in P5, while High B coming over the line in P5. P6 that should be. So that's a great job as well. Footy has taken the checkered flag already, while Spliff, the only driver, along with Dance, who's in that AI, and these AIs have got some nice liveries. I'm gonna lie, nice ones they've got. Well, we're pretty much at the end of this now, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of this race right here. Scrubbins has done an absolute amazing job and has won the race by over 32 seconds. Has to be an absolute and exceptional performance, while Spliff is going to come over in 9th place, just about second last position out of the 10 cars we have right here. And that's now going to be time, and look at that podium celebrations, and why should it be? Scrubbins takes his second victory of the season and wins here in Bahrain, and gets the job done. And it's all smiles and victories for them right there. And that's going to be the end of it, ladies and gentlemen. High B is the driver of the day, fastest lap race winner. Scrubbins with racer with most overtakes. Cleanest was Fly Scott. Not sure how it's going to be before that. It might have been before that final incident, but here's going to be your race results, ladies and gentlemen. Scrubbins wins ahead of Fly Scott in P2, with Zen in P3, followed by Dad Racer in P4. Then comes Nozzy in that AI with High B in P6, followed by Lucas Dance in P7 and 8. Then it is Spliff and Footy in the P9 and 10th position. And that's going to be the end of it then, ladies and gentlemen. Brilliant job by these drivers, and all congratulations to our race winner, Spliff, and not Spliff, sorry, to Scrubbins for winning a great race, and Fly Scott and Zenzoku on those podiums as well. So that's going to be the end of it then, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you all watching had enjoyed it. This was myself, Zabi. And from all of us here at Formula 1 Fun at Sim Racing, it's a goodbye. And as always, see you next time at the next round at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.